Maharaj, Tava Kathamritam. What's loading? Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadattatam Bhuvi Grananti Te Bhurida Jana. Dear friends, welcome to the usual Tuesday classes on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Swami Yogatmananji, as you all know, is traveling in India, so we are doing some related studies, and this session is a continuation from the previous week Tuesday discussion on the 4 women devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. Last week we saw 2 women devotees, and this week we will be seeing 2 other popular women devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. They are often referred, these 2 women devotees of today's discussion are often referred to as the 2 companions of the Divine Mother. Divine Mother Durga has 2 companions, Jaya and Vijaya, and these 2 devotees are considered as those 2 companions of the Divine Mother. They are Joginma and Golapma, and in Sri Sharada Devi's own words, she says, Jogin and Golap have done so much sadhana, it will do you good to talk about it amongst yourself. So that is what we will be doing today. So we will begin with the life of Sri Yoginma. So as we know, austerity is the source of strength and also the means to liberation. Spiritual life and practice of austerities go together. And Yoginma's life is a glowing example of austerities. And once Sri Ramakrishna himself remarked that she is a gopi perfected by God's grace. To begin with her early life, her birth name is Yogindra Mohini Mitra. She was born in the year 1851. So she is of the similar age of Holy Mother, Sharada Devi. And she was born in Bhag Bazar in Calcutta. She is from a very wealthy family, and her father was a well-known physician of that time. And it just happened so that Yoginma's grandmother, without her own knowledge, had actually met Sri Ramakrishna. So when Yoginma's grandmother read Keshav Sen's newsletters, she read about this famous saint from Dakshineshwar and wanted to meet him. So she goes to Dakshineshwar to meet the saint. But as she had not seen him before, the first person she enquired about Sri Ramakrishna was Sri Ramakrishna himself. So she asked, so can I see the Paramahamsa who lives here? And Sri Ramakrishna replied, what do I know about him? Some call him Paramahamsa, and some others call him a young priest, and others call him Gadadhar Chatterjee. Please ask someone else to help you with this matter. But she was not too serious about finding this saint, so she just stayed for for some more time in the temple garden and left. So coming back to Yoginma, it was that period of time when child marriages were prevalent, and she got married at the age of 7. She was married to this person from a very wealthy and pious family in a nearby city. And although child marriage was a custom of the society then, Yoginma did not live with her husband immediately. She moved in only after she had grown up and soon discovered to her great dismay that her husband was a drunkard. Although he had inherited much wealth from his father, he also squandered it in a short time. He was so extravagant that he would light cigarettes with 500 rupee bills. 500 rupees of that time in 1850s and 60s. And soon he became a virtual beggar. Yoginma stayed with him for a few years and tried in vain to change his life. She bore him two children, a girl by the name Ganu and a boy. And that little boy died just 6 months after his birth. And eventually, disgusted with her husband's immoral life, she severed her relationship with him and returned back to her parental home with her daughter Ganu. So, as you see, the romantic picture of a peaceful, happily married, ever after life was shattered for Yoginma, and she felt a great void in her mind, tormented by anxiety and restlessness of how she would spend the rest of her life. She was going through a mental storm, and this is when Sri Ramakrishna entered her life. So, it was in 1882 Yoginma first met Sri Ramakrishna, and this was in the house of Balaram Basu. And Balaram Basu was related to, was one of the intimate circle, householder disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, and he was also related to Yoginma. Balaram Basu was Yoginma's husband's maternal uncle, and their houses were nearby. So let us read the account of the first meeting of Yoginma with Sri Ramakrishna. So in 1882, Yoginma met Sri Ramakrishna for the first time at Balaram Basu's house. As she said in her memoirs, Balaram Babu was related to me being my husband's maternal uncle. One day, Sri Ramakrishna came to his house and we went to see him. It was the first time I saw him. The master was standing at one side of the hall in deep samadhi. He had no outer consciousness. Since no one dared touch him, people bowed down to him from a distance. We also did the same. At that time, I had no idea what samadhi was. I at first thought that he was a drunken devotee of Kali. I could not understand the master at my first meeting. Moreover, it immediately came to my mind that my married life was ruined by a drunken husband. And again, I shouldn't spoil my spiritual life through the influence of the seemingly drunken person. But gradually, I acquainted with the master. So, Balaram Basu would often go to Dakshineshwar by boat and would invite other devotees to go along with him. Yoginma went with him a few times, and then she started to visit the master with some other devotees. In her memoir, she said, "Gradually, I began to feel an attraction for the master. Just the thought of visiting him would make my mind dance with joy. On the day that I planned to go there, I would get up early, finish my household duties as quickly as possible. My longing to see him knew no bounds. After arriving at his room, I would forget everything, sitting in his presence. The master used to experience samadhi off and on, and at that time, we would look at his face with wonder. He was so compassionate. Whenever I brought him some ordinary preparations, he would relish them like a young boy, saying joyfully, 'Very tasty, delicious.' And always at the time of our departure, he would say, 'Come back again.' When I returned home after my visit with the master, I would spend the whole week in an intoxicated mood. This established a strong relationship. I cannot express the joy I felt. Even while I was engaged in cooking or other household activities, my mind was with the master. After some days, when I would feel my intoxication diminishing, my mind would again long to see him." So, Yoginma kept visiting Sri Ramakrishna as often as possible like this. And she was already initiated. She was initiated with the Devi mantra, that is a divine mother's mantra, by a family guru from the husband's side. When she told Sri Ramakrishna about her spiritual initiation, he confirmed her mantram and asked her to continue on the same. He told her, "Look, your chosen deity is in this place," pointing to himself. "If you think of me, that will bring recollectedness of your chosen deity." And Sri Ramakrishna also taught her how to practice japam on her fingers. So soon after, she met Holy Mother, and both became very good friends because they were of the same age group. So they could connect well with each other. And Holy Mother once said, "Yogin is my Jaya." So the two companions of the Divine Mother, they are called Jaya and Vijaya. Holy Mother once said, "This Yogin is my Jaya, my friend, companion, and attendant." So whenever Yogin Ma came to Dakshineshwar, she would serve the Master and Holy Mother. Yogin Ma's association with Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother created a spiritual hunger in her life. So she started to divert most of her energy into spiritual pursuits like worship, study, japam, meditation, etc. The master discouraged her from studying too many books, but he encouraged her to study devotional scriptures. So she started reading every afternoon Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, Life of Sri Chaitanya, etc. So during one of her visits, one day she was feeling very restless. So she left for Dakshineshwar early in the morning. And she went, sat at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. And then after some time, she went to the garden and collected some flowers and was bringing it for Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna got up and he was watching her coming towards him and asked her, "What are you carrying?" And she showed her the flowers and offered it to his feet and bowed down. And immediately he went into an ecstasy and put his foot on her head. So that was one of her first blessings from Sri Ramakrishna. And Yoginma used to say, whenever a question arose in my mind, someone else would ask the same question. And by answering that person, Sri Ramakrishna removed all my doubts. And slowly, because she was married, she had a daughter, she lived with her mother, and she had already cut ties with this drunkard husband of hers, but still she wanted her family also to see the treasure that she had discovered. So Yoginma first brought her aged mother and her daughter to Sri Ramakrishna, and they were very much inspired by seeing him. And then in November of 1882, Balaram Basu, who was her relative, also brought her husband to Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna observed him for some time, and after he left, he said, "He's an unfortunate wretch. The householder has 5 duties to discharge." This is called the Pancha Mahayajna in the Hindu tradition. Every householder is due to discharge these duties. The 5 great daily yajnas. The first is the Brahma Yajna, or the duty towards the rishis, which is offered by studying of scriptures. The second is Deva Yajna, or duty towards gods and the gods of the elements. And the third is Pitri Yajna, or duty towards ancestors. The fourth is Bhuta Yajna, or homage or duty towards other fellow creatures. And the fifth is Manushya Yajna, or the duty towards the fellow men. And if a person has a chaste wife and children, the husband should support her and also bring up their children until they are of age. These are the prescribed duties of a householder. And therefore, he owes these 5-fold debt to nature, and he must pay back his debt by performing these 5 sacrifices daily. But this husband failed to perform his duties. And still, Yoginma, out of her attachment to the husband, she continued persuading her husband to associate with Sri Ramakrishna. So he met him once again, and this meeting had a deep impression on him. But soon enough, he was bitten by a dog and became bedridden. So Sri Ramakrishna told Yoginma that as a wife, she is bound by the duty to serve her husband even if he was immoral. So Yoginma spent her days serving this ailing husband, and soon enough he passed away. And so, pleased with Yoginma's devotion, Sri Ramakrishna himself visited her home. So, this is this famous visit of Sri Ramakrishna that Abhijit and Prithvish was telling me today. The trip of the last trip of Sri Ramakrishna to the different houses of the devotees in his lifetime. So this was the 28th July 1885 trip, and Yoginma was one of those blessed devotees to whose house he visited. And let us read about this visit of Sri Ramakrishna to his house. So, pleased with Yoginma's devotion, Sri Ramakrishna visited her home on July 28, 1885, along with a few devotees and some musicians there entertained them in her parlor. And then the master was asked to go to Golapma's house, devotee whom we'll be discussing on, who was Yoginma's neighbor. And Golapma told Sri Ramakrishna, Ganu's mother, that is Yoginma, requests you to bless the room with the dust of your feet. Then the room will be turned into Varanasi, and anyone dying in it will have no trouble hereafter. So in his reminiscences, Swami Akhandananda describes an interesting incident that occurred that day at Yoginma's house. So once Sri Ramakrishna went to Yoginma's house at Nebu Bagan, Bhag Bazar. Hira Lal, a brother of Yoginma, did not like the fact that his sister went to Dakshineshwar. We heard that when Yoginma invited the master to her house, Hiralal brought a famous gymnast and a wrestler named Manmata, who lived in Goisanpada, to frighten Sri Ramakrishna. After Manmata saw the master and heard a few words from him, he fell at his feet and said to him, weeping, "My lord, I am guilty, please forgive me." The master replied, "All right, come one day to Dakshineshwar." And according to Swami Akhandananda's records, Manmata was a ruffian and an expert fighter. Some days later, Manmata asked Swami Akhandananda to accompany him to Dakshineshwar to see the master. Sri Ramakrishna blessed Manmata, touching his body, and that touch transformed his life. And once Yoginma, there is another interesting incident of a boat ride with the master. So this was in the middle of 1885. Yoginma and a few other women devotees went by boat with the master to attend a Vaishnava festival at Panihati, a few miles north of Calcutta. They watched the master as he sang and danced among the huge crowd. A few days later, they again enjoyed his holy company during the Jagannath car festival at Balaram Babsu's house. The master spent that night at Balram's house, and the next morning he returned to Dakshineshwar. Before he left, the woman devotee saluted him and bade him farewell. But Yoginma, feeling an irresistible attraction for the master, followed him. Seeing her behind him, the master said in an ecstatic mood, blissful mother," and saluted her. Yoginma bowed down to him. Then the master said to her, "Why don't you come, O mother? Why don't you come with me?" So while the master went to the boat that had been hired for him, Yoginma hurried back to Balram's house, informed Balaram's wife that she was going to Dakshineshwar with the master. Another woman also accompanied her, and they both ran through the street so that they could reach the boat before it left. On the way to Dakshineshwar, Yoginma said to the master, "I want to call on God more and put my mind wholly on Him, but it is hard to control the mind. What shall I do?" Sri Ramakrishna replied in a sweet voice, "Why don't you surrender to Him? Be like a cast-off leaf in a gale. Do you know what that is like? A cast-off leaf lies on the ground and flies away as the wind carries it. Similarly, one should depend on God. Let the mind move as the power of the divine consciousness moves it. That's all. When the boat reached Dakshineshwar, Yoginma and her companion went to the Nahabat to see the Holy Mother, and the master went to bow down to the Divine Mother in the temple. So, another interesting incident is once Yoginma asked the master, "What will happen to us?" And for that, Sri Ramakrishna replied, "What more do you want? You have seen me, fed me, and served me. What else do you need? Don't worry. The 1,000-petal lotus of your seventh plane, the Sahasrara, will bloom at the time of your death." He further said, "At the devotees' last moment, I shall have to appear before them. Otherwise, how will they get liberation?" And finally, the last meeting with Sri Ramakrishna, Yoginma in general was a very strong woman in her heart. Whatever she undertook, she carried it through perfection. After practicing spiritual disciplines for some time under Master's instruction, she decided that Calcutta was not a suitable place for such practices. The sacred Vrindavan would be better. So she approached Sri Ramakrishna and asked for his permission. That time Sri Ramakrishna was in Kashipur for his cancer treatment. When Yoginma asked his permission, he readily agreed but asked her to seek the consent from Holy Mother as well. So, Yoginma went to ask her permission, and Holy Mother was present then and said, "Whatever was to be said has been said by you already. What is there to add?" Nevertheless, the master said to Yoginma, "My dear child, go after obtaining her consent. Only then you will get everything." So the next day, Yoginma came back to Kashipur to take leave of the master and Holy Mother. She and Golapma had brought some food for Sri Ramakrishna, but since there were some young boy disciples in his room, they waited downstairs. When the master heard that they were there, he sent for them and told them that those boys were like his sons. Sri Ramakrishna blessed them, touching their heads, and asked them to go to Holy Mother. Yoginma waited, however, and Swami Brahmananda said to the master, "She always salutes you by placing her head on your feet, so she is waiting." Immediately, the master, out of compassion, took his feet from underneath the cover of his bed, and Yoginma bowed down as she used to. This was her last meeting with him. Yoginma then went to bow down to Holy Mother. As a blessing, Holy Mother put her hand on Yoginma's head, and silently repeated her mantram, counting it on her fingers. So, and this was her last meeting with Sri Ramakrishna. After this, she moved to Vrindavan to do her spiritual practices. And in August of 1886, Sri Ramakrishna left his physical body. And so she was at Vrindavan, and immediately after, almost a month or so after Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, Holy Mother came to Vrindavan and she saw Yoginma there. Immediately, Yoginma hugged and began to shed profuse tears, and both of them started to shed tears at the separation from the master. And both of us became so disconsolate that our days passed in lamentation and we could hardly attend to our daily needs. So at this time, one night, the master appeared to us in a vision and said, "Why are you crying so much? Here I am. Where have I gone? It is just a change from one room to another, isn't that so?" These words reassured us and lessened the intensity of our grief to a considerable extent. So we saw the interactions of Yoginma with Sri Ramakrishna. So next, let us see how she rejoiced in the company of Holy Mother. So as I mentioned before, Yoginma was the Jaya of Holy Mother, a friend, companion, and attendant. And she was of a temperament who would spend all her time and energy during doing very difficult and intense spiritual austerities. And she even practiced austerities along with Holy Mother. Um, so, uh, to let us go through her acquaintance with Holy Mother. So, when she first came to Sri Ramakrishna, uh, Sri Ramakrishna introduced her to Holy Mother, and her relationship was with Mother was like a friend, because they were of the same age group and same temperament. And Yoginma described that her relationship with Holy Mother, that whenever I went there, Holy Mother would take me into her confidence and tell me all her secrets and seek my counsel. I used to visit Dakshineshwar every week, almost every week, and sometimes when I stay overnight, Holy Mother would not let me sleep anywhere else, but only in her room in the Nahabat. So let us see her first meeting with Holy Mother. This was in 1882 also. So sometime after my first visit, Holy Mother uh, once Yoginma started getting acquainted with Holy Mother, Holy Mother had to leave to her hometown for a few days. And this is Yoginma's expression of how it felt for her. Sometime after my first visit, Holy Mother left for her country home. I stood on the bank of Ganga and watched her departure, waiting until the boat was no longer visible. After that, I returned to the Nahabat and wept bitterly. The master, on his way back from the Panchavati, noticed me crying, and after returning to his room, he sent for me. Her leaving caused a great deal of pain for you, he said tenderly. He then began to console me by recounting the marvelous spiritual experiences he had during his days of tantric sadhana. When Holy Mother returned after about year and a half, he told her, that girl with nice large eyes who comes here frequently, she loves you very much. She wept a lot at the Nahabat when you left for home. And Mother replied, yes, I know her very well. Her name is Yogin. So after Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, Holy Mother soon joined her in Vrindavan, and we just saw the first meeting of Holy Mother and Yoginma in Vrindavan, and their first vision of Sri Ramakrishna after he left the body. And they both practiced intense spiritual austerities while at Vrindavan. And also in 1893, Holy Mother and Yoginma performed this Panchatapa Yajna, the austerities of 5 fires at Nilambar Babu's garden house. So after the stay at Vrindavan, Yoginma knew that her aged mother wanted help, and her daughter was also there. So she decided to move back to Calcutta, and this Panchatapa austerity happened during that time. So what this Panchatapa is Panchatapa means 5 fires. The 4 fires are 4 blazing fires are lit in the 4 corners, 6 feet apart. And the austerity is to sit and repeat one's mantram from sunrise to sunset by the 4 blazing fire, which are placed 6 feet apart, and the scorching sun above, which is the 5th fire. And they practiced together, Joginma and Holy Mother, for 7 consecutive days. And Yoginma was simultaneously taking care of her mother, and her daughter was also married, and the daughter had children, and she was also taking care of her grandsons. And meanwhile, her house was very close to Holy Mother's Calcutta home, the Udbodhan house. So this is the routine, a general routine of how Yoginma's daily life was in Calcutta. Uh, Let us see. This is a record of one Western devotee, Sister Devamata, in her reminiscences of Yoginma. So, Sister Devamata says, Yoginma always seemed to me as one of the noblest of Sri Ramakrishna's disciples. She did not abandon her householder life, but no nun in a cloister was more rigid in her spiritual observance than she. Her householder life was lived with her aging mother in a modest home within walking distance of Holy Mother's quarters in Calcutta. She was punctiliously faithful in fulfilling her duty to her mother. No service was ever omitted, no care neglected. Her loving thought was constantly on her. But with more lingering persistence did it rest in the memory of her blessed association with Sri Ramakrishna. Since her first contact with him, her supreme interest had been centered in her spiritual life. This, I saw it, was lived at the Udbodhan office in Mukherjee Lane, where on the second story, Holy Mother was housed. These two, so her day was too well organized to permit of conflict. She rose before the night had lifted at 4, went for bath in the Ganga. She never failed. Sometimes when she was not well, Swami Saradananda would remonstrate with her and beg her to consider her health, but she remained firm. The early bath in the Ganga, with its prayer and sacred chanting, was a religious duty and should not be put aside for her. The bath over, she returned to her home, gave her mother the necessary care, and at 7 o'clock she was climbing the stairs at Udbodhan office to carry a morning greeting to Holy Mother. This done, she went below to a room underneath the stairs. Here she decided on the purchases to be made at the bazaar and cut the vegetables for the noon meal. She regarded this as her special privilege. At about 11, she returned to the upper room to conduct the puja. The hour of prayer in that upper chamber where the shrine was counted among the most precious in the day for me. Yoginma and I were alone, she before the altar, I beside an inner window opening on the court. Holy Mother came and went. Others entered the room. It was all essentially informal, but Yoginma's thought remained fixed on the puja. She was very strict in conforming with all the usages and traditions of worship. She would never speak while she was worshipping, and it seemed at times as if Holy Mother was teasing or testing her, for she would go up to her and ask her a question. Yoginma would give a monosyllabic answer behind closed teeth without moving her lips. Mother would smile and walk away. After the puja, Yoginma served the noon meal to the ladies in the front rooms near the shrine, to Swami Sharadananda and the Udbodhan staff in a large dining hall at the rear end of the second story. When the meal was eaten, she went to her mother, but in the late afternoon, she was back once more in the room under the stairs conferring with Swami Sharadananda. This was the 1 hour of real recreation in all the day. For when they had disposed of immediate questions, they lived over again and yet again the blessed days with Sri Ramakrishna. They told each other stories of the Master they had heard 100 times. They talked of Swami Vivekananda and the other disciples who had gone. They spoke tenderly and devoutly of Holy Mother. It was a cherished hour, that hour spent together in the little room underneath the stairs. And then the Arati seemed to be the culmination of it. And Yoginma passed half in dream from the memory of the Master to his worship in the shrine. With her heart aglow, she waved the incense and burning camphor before the picture, and then with the same warmth of love, she turned when Arati was over to distribute the offered food to his children. And Yoginma was always active, never in the least bit lazy. Every afternoon, after returning home from Holy Mother's house, she would cook rice and curries. This food she offered to the Lord in her shrine, and then she and her mother partook of the prasad. After eating, she would take a little rest and then study one of the scriptures. She did not know Sanskrit, so she would read a Bengali translation of the original, and sometimes in the afternoon she would attend the Gita class given by Swami Sharadananda. So this is how she spent her life doing her spiritual practices, and uh, Holy Mother's regard for Yogin Ma was very special. When Sri Ramakrishna appeared in her vision once again, ordering her to initiate Swami Yogananda, he also told her, "You consult Yogin Ma." So, Holy Mother always respected Yogin Ma's opinion and judgment and would consult her for both domestic and spiritual affairs. So, and then Holy Mother passed away in 1920, and this created a huge void in Yogin Ma's mind. And Yogin Ma longed to join Holy Mother and Sri Ramakrishna in their eternal abode. And within 4 years, so 1920, Holy Mother passed away, and over 4 years, Yogin Ma's health also started deteriorating, and she too left the physical realm in 1924. So, if you see her austerities, she performed intense austerities of japam and meditation in Vrindavan. And after her Vrindavan austerities, though she was initiated in the Divine Mother's mantra and her practices were all around that, she started worshipping baby Krishna also. And she installed in her shrine at her home in Calcutta a baby Krishna where Thakur had visited her, the room where Thakur had visited. And she was having many divine visions of Sri Ramakrishna and the other deities. And she was also initiated into Tantra Sadhana along with Swami Sharadananda by Ishwar Chandra Chakravarti in, I think this was 1920 or 1919, and she was also given Vedic sannyas by Swami Sharadananda in the presence of Swami Premanandji. And she was too humble that she wouldn't display her renunciation with the ochre cloth. She would just wear it for her worship. And the interesting thing is her Swami Vivekananda commented on her, and this is about how she would leave the body. This is an interesting thing to read. So, in 1896, Swami Vivekananda wrote from America to his brother disciples to start a convent for women with the help of Yogin Ma, Gauri Ma, and other women disciples of the Master. After Swamiji returned to India, he learnt one day that Yogin Ma had experienced samadhi in her Calcutta residence. He said to her, "Yogin Ma, you will pass away in samadhi." And once a person experiences samadhi, the memory of it is revived at the time of the death. And just as Swami Vivekananda predicted, during her last days, she lived at the Udbodhan house. She went into samadhi and left the body. So this is Sri Yogin Ma's life. Next, we will get into the life of another companion of the Divine Mother. This is Sri Golap Ma. So Golap Mas, so all these, so far the three devotees that we have seen so far, each life had a unique flavor. So in the same way, Golap Ma's life, if you see, it was death that brought her to Sri Ramakrishna. Invariably, the death of a loved one becomes a turning point in a person's life. At that time, seeing darkness and hopelessness all around, a person begins to think deeply about life. They realize the emptiness and transitoriness, that life ends in death, union ends in separation. Still, The tears flow as grief consumes the heart. But the power of Mahamaya is such that time subdues this memory and the soul begins to get attached with other things in life and repeats this cycle of pleasure and misery again and again over several lifetimes until at some point it decides to put its foot down and says, enough is enough. Swami Vivekananda once said, I think this world is a circus and in which we are the clowns tumbling because we like to tumble. And when we get tired, we will quit. So, in his famous poem, My Play is Done, Swami Vivekananda describes this pain beautifully. He says, open the gates of light, O mother, to me, thy tired son. I long, oh, long to return home. Mother, my play is done. You sent me out in the dark to play and wore a frightful mask. Then hope departed, terror came, and play became a task. Tossed to and fro from wave to wave in this seething, surging sea of passions, strong and sorrows deep, grief is and joy to be. Where life is living death, alas, and death who knows but is. Another round of this old wheel of grief and bliss, where children dream bright golden dreams, too soon to find them dust. And look back to hope long lost, and life a mass of rust. Too late the knowledge age doth gain, scare from the wheel we are gone. When fresh young lives put their strength to the wheel, which thus goes on from day to day and year to year, this but delusion's toy. False hope its motor, desire, knave, its spokes are grief and joy. I go adrift and know not whither. Save from this fire. Rescue me, merciful mother, from floating with desire. Turn not to me thy awful face. This more than I can bear. Be merciful and kind to me. To child my faults forbear. Take me, O mother, to those shores where strifes forever cease. Beyond all sorrows, beyond tears, beyond even earthly bliss, whose glory neither sun nor moon nor stars that twinkle bright, nor flash of lightning can express. They but reflect its light. Let never more delusive dreams wheel off thy face from me. My play is done. O mother, break my chains and make me free. So, Golapma's life is this life which is drowned in grief, so much in grief that she was called by the people around her as the grief-stricken Brahmin widow. That was her name. And when the heart cries out in pain, God, the mother, cannot resist herself from taking this crying child into her arms. And this is also what that happened in the life of Golapma. So, Golapma's birth name is Golap Sundari Devi. Golap means rose. Golap Sundari means a beautiful rose. She was born in a Brahmin family in North Calcutta in the late 1840s. So, she was much elder to Holy Mother. Again, as with all the other devotees, her parents arranged her marriage when she was very young to a poor Brahmin. And the husband passed away in a few years, leaving her with two small children, a son and a daughter. The son died too at a very young age, and Golapma's only focus of life was her daughter Chandi. She married her daughter to a wealthy landlord, and soon enough her daughter too passed away. And at this point, Golapma lost everything and cried in grief, with no solace to find anywhere. And it was at this time her neighbor, Yoginma, the person whom we saw before her, came into her life. Seeing her terrible suffering, Yoginma one day took her to Sri Ramakrishna, and this was in the year 1885. So let us see Golapma in the company of Sri Ramakrishna. So this is her first meeting with Sri Ramakrishna. This is in. And Golapma was in so much pain, and with such intense pain, no words can calm a person. So, when Golapma first met the master, this is her description of this meeting. When I first went to the master, I was tormented with grief for my daughter, Chandi. Yoginma took me to him. He touched my head and removed all the grief from my heart instantly. It was amazing. In a moment, my mind became calm and serene. I immediately laughed like a jnani, a person endowed with spiritual knowledge. I felt that I had come to this world to act in a play. Who is whose mother and who is whose daughter? In my childhood, I had played with cloth dolls, and after that, I played with flesh and blood dolls. This world is nothing but a play with dolls. So, why should I cry for my daughter? It is a glorious thing to cry for God. Such was the power of the master. So, with this intense suffering, no words can create solace. So, she needed the touch of the master, and instantly uh, she was out of her misery and pain. So, after this, Golapma unburdened her heart to Sri Ramakrishna by narrating the sad story of her life. He was in an ecstatic mood and he said, "You are fortunate. God helps those who have no one to call their own." And then he sang a song: "Dwell, O mind, within yourself. Enter no other's home. If you but seek there, you will find all you're searching for. God, the true philosopher's stone, who answers every prayer, lies hidden deep within your heart, the richest gem of all." It is said that the master's touch, his words, and his singing soothed her grieving heart and brought new hope and happiness to her life. And she again, like every other devotee, felt this intense attraction to Sri Ramakrishna and started visiting him again and again. So, after a few visits, Sri Ramakrishna introduced Golapma to Holy Mother, saying, "You should feed this Brahmin girl. Sorrow is assuaged when the stomach is full." And Sri Ramakrishna also told Holy Mother, "Keep your eyes on this Brahmin woman. She will live with you permanently." And slowly, she became a companion for Holy Mother and started serving both the Holy Mother and the Master. So let us read through few incidents from their life. So one night in Dakshineshwar, Sri Ramakrishna got up at midnight and said to his nephew Ramlal, "I'm very hungry, Ramlal." And Ramlal searched the room but could not find any sweets or fruits, so he went to the Nahabat and informed Holy Mother. She immediately made a fire with some hay and wood and began to cook farina pudding. Golapma carried the bowl containing 2 pounds of the pudding to the master. Swami Sharadananda wrote, "She just stepped into the room, dimly lighted by a lamp in a corner, where Ramlal was sitting quietly nearby. She was startled to notice the master pacing back and forth at the dead of the night, calm and silent, with an extraordinary spiritual mood overwhelming him. It seemed to her that the master's body had become much bigger in both height and bulk, as if he was not a human being to this earthly sphere, and he was a god from some heaven that has come in guise uh, to remove this place full of misery, wailing, and death." Ramlal had already placed a seat for the master to sit on. Awestruck and hesitating, Golapma went near and placed the bowl of farina pudding in front of the seat. The master sat down and ate, and gradually ate all of it under the influence of that spiritual intoxication. Golapma later described her vision of the Kundalini power accepting oblations in the master's body. It seemed to me that as soon as the master put food in his mouth, the snake shaped Kundalini Shakti within him was aroused and snatched at the food and devoured it. The master asked me, "Well, can you tell me who is eating, myself or someone else?" I told the master what I had seen. He was pleased to hear it and said, "You're right. You're right. You're fortunate that you have seen it and understood it." And Sri Ramakrishna, in that 28th July visit to Yogin Ma's house, he also visited Golap Ma's house. And that is also a very interesting account to read. But because of time, let us keep going forward. So, a characteristic nature of Golap Ma is her very blunt nature in both words and actions. She did not mince her words or try to behave politely with everyone. There are many instances where Sri Ramakrishna had warned her about this aspect of her character. And so, for one example, let's see. Since Golapma visited Dakshineshwar frequently, the Calcutta devotees often sent fruit, food, and other things with her for the master. Once Balaram's daughter Bhuvan brought some jamrul for the master and asked Golapma to carry them to Dakshineshwar. At first, Golapma declined, but she doubted the purity of the fruit. She knew that master could not eat unclean food or food that had been touched by an impure person. And strangely enough, as soon as she arrived, the master asked for it and ate it with joy. Another time, Swami Premananda's mother had made a special cake and asked Golapma to take it to the master. But Golapma noticed that the cake was a little dark, so she did not bring it with her. When she met the master this time, he again asked for some food and she deeply regretted going there empty handed. And this was not just the devotees, even she didn't spare Holy Mother also with her this nature. So in the middle of 1885, Sri Ramakrishna started to feel some discomfort in his throat. It was beginning of cancer. Holy Mother was very much concerned about his health. Every day Sri Ramakrishna drank a measured quantity of milk in a cup, but unknown to him, Holy Mother would boil the milk for a long time in order to make it thick. That way he would get more nutrition. One day the master became suspicious about the quantity of the milk and asked Golapma about it. Not realizing Holy Mother's intention, Golapma told the truth. Sri Ramakrishna became alarmed and this made his stomach upset. Finally, Holy Mother straightened out the situation, but she cautioned Golapma not to say everything to the master. And once Golapma said to Holy Mother, "Manmohan's mother remarked the other day that since master is such a perfect example of renunciation, it does not look well that you adorn yourself with so many ornaments." Holy Mother at once removed all her jewelry except for 2 bracelets. Yoginma came the next day and persuaded Holy Mother to put on a few ornaments, but Holy Mother never put on more, for the master fell ill soon after that. When Sri Ramakrishna heard about the fuss, he said, "What is this? She did not adorn herself with those ornaments. It is I who arranged that jewelry for her. Her name is Sharada. She is Saraswati. That is why she loves to adorn herself." He once told Golapma about Holy Mother's nature. She is Sharada. She has assumed a human body to impart wisdom to people, but she has hidden her celestial beauty lest men, by looking at her, should befoul their minds with sinful thoughts. And another incident where Golapma again gets into trouble for her outspoken nature is when Sri Ramakrishna moved to Shampukur in Calcutta for treatment. Golapma also temporarily took the responsibility of cooking his food, and Holy Mother stayed back at Dakshineshwar. One day, Golapma, who was simple but not very tactful, made a remark to Yoginma that Master had probably left Dakshineshwar because he was annoyed with Holy Mother. When Holy Mother heard about it, she was stunned. She went at once to Shyampukur with tears in her eyes and asked the master if she had really offended him. Sri Ramakrishna denied the whole thing, and after consoling her, sent her back to Dakshineshwar. Later, he scolded Golap very sharply for her thoughtlessness and told her to beg Holy Mother's forgiveness. Golapma immediately walked all the way to Dakshineshwar, bursting into tears. She implored Holy Mother to forgive her. It was impossible for Holy Mother to harbor ill feelings against anyone. So she just laughed and patted at Golapma's back. But this was a trait that she had till the end, which created a lot of misunderstanding, criticism, and she was also humiliated by other devotees because of this. But despite anything, she never left Master and Holy Mother. So let us look at her company with Holy Mother. So Golapma was Holy Mother's Vijaya, the other companion of Mother Durga. She followed her like a shadow for 36 years. Towards the end of 1886, Balaram arranged for a pilgrimage for Holy Mother, and she was also one of them that accompanied her in that. And after returning from pilgrimage, Holy Mother went to Kamarpukur, and Golapma and Swami Yogananda also accompanied her for a few days, and they came back to Calcutta. And Holy Mother spent a year at Kamarpukur under the most trying situation of poverty, loneliness, and people's criticism. So this was after Sri Ramakrishna's passing away. And when Golapma found out about it, she immediately asked some devotees to go bring her back to Calcutta. After this, Golapma never moved away from Holy Mother. She went on several pilgrimages with Holy Mother to Diogar, Puri, Prayag, Haridwar, Rameshwar, and also during all her visits to Jairam Bhatti and Kamarpukur. Holy Mother used to say, I cannot go anywhere without Golap. I feel secure when she is with me. And while going somewhere by carriage, Golapma would hold Holy Mother's hand as they got in and out. And when they walked, Golapma would walk in the front, and Holy Mother would follow behind like a bashful bride. And in the Calcutta residence of Holy Mothers, Golapma acted as her supervisor and also guarded Holy Mother from various emotional and temperamental devotees. She, not because of her outspoken nature, she did not hesitate to even chide the monastic disciples if she felt so, if she felt Holy Mother was troubled because of them. And if you see her primary spiritual practice was to serve Holy Mother and to be with Holy Mother. That was her spiritual practice. And let us go into Golapma's daily routine. So this is again from Sister Devamata's records. My chief companionship was with the devotee surrounding Holy Mother. Golapma, tall and powerful in build, conservative, orthodox and uncompromising, acted as a gendarme to Mother, protecting her against intrusion, guarding her safety, even scolding her when she thought Mother was growing careless in caste observance or too indulgent towards her foreign children. She showed me always the greatest kindness. So, Golapma's routine at Udbodhan house was as follows. She would get up before 4 a.m. and after washing would sit for 3 hours in her room for japam and meditation. She would go to the shrine, salute the Master and Holy Mother. After that, she would go to the kitchen, storeroom, pick out the vegetables to give to the cook. She then started to cut some vegetables so that the cook could begin his work. Later in the morning, she would accompany Holy Mother to the Ganga for a bath, bringing back with her a brass jar of Ganga water for the worship. Again, she would go to the kitchen along with Yogin Ma and cut more vegetables. She also used to make about 100 beetle rolls every day. When the worship was over and the food had been offered, she would set aside some prasad for the mother and then distribute the rest to the monks, devotees, and workers of the household. After lunch, Golapma would take a little rest and read the Mahabharata, the Gita, or a book on Sri Ramakrishna or Swami Vivekananda. She spent her afternoons either cutting more vegetables for supper or sewing torn pillowcases or mosquito curtains for the monks. Later, she would talk to Holy Mother or visit Balaram's house, which was nearby. When the Vesper service was over, she would again salute the Master and Holy Mother and then sit in her room for spiritual practice until 9 pm. During supper, she would distribute offered sweets and fruits to everyone. If anyone was out, Golapma would save his food. Her eyes were everywhere in Holy Mother's household. And her final days. So again, Holy Mother passed away in 1920, July of 1920. And just like Yoginma, she also could not bear the separation from Holy Mother. And soon enough, 4 years later, the same year when Yoginma passed away, Golapma also passed away. So this is an account of her last day. Golapma lived for 4 years after mother's passing. She continued her service as usual, but she missed the mother. She had a little heart trouble and some minor complications, and gradually her health began to fail. One day, Golap Ma told some devotees, Yogin died in the bright fortnight, and I shall go in the dark one. A few days before her death, she said to a monk, It seems to me that this body will not last long. Quite often, I see a girl wearing an ochre cloth and a rudraksha garland and carrying a trident come out of my body. Then I look at this body and it seems to be dead. She died at Udbodhan, Holy Mother's house at 4 pm on December 19th of 1924, and her body was cremated on the bank of Ganga. And when Holy Mother was around, she had told Holy Mother, I do not want liberation, I want you. So this was her aspect of spirituality. So Jai Shri Gopal Ma Ki Jai. So with this, we've read through the life of 4 women devotees. And let us conclude with a closing prayer. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. So, here is the schedule for the upcoming week of programs. This Friday we'll have a replay of old Bhagavatam class, and the routine follows. The Saturdays are Karma Yoga days. On March 16th, we have Sri Chaitanya and Our Spiritual Life by Abhijit Sarkar. And the Tuesday class, next Tuesday, is Finding M in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So please come for the next sessions, and thank you for attending.